Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's dive into the story. After Lena's shift ended, she walked out of the rehabilitation center, her thoughts still lingering on Jacob. The man she had seen as just another spoiled rich kid was no longer just a patient. He was someone who had unexpectedly challenged her views on wealth, status, and kindness. That night, as she sat in her small apartment, Lena couldn't help but replay the conversation they had earlier in her mind. Jacob's words, "You treated me like I was just another person who needed help," echoed in her thoughts. She hadn't realized how much of an impact her actions had until now. Her phone buzzed, snapping her out of her reverie. It was a message from one of her co-workers. "Lena, Jacob Bennett just donated a huge amount to the hospital, and he wants to meet with you tomorrow." Her heart skipped a beat. Why would he want to meet with her? Was he thanking her for helping him? Or was this just another business arrangement? The next morning, Lena found herself standing outside Jacob's private office in the hospital, trying to calm her nerves. She had been in this building countless times, but today felt different. She knocked on the door and waited for his response. "Come in," Jacob's voice called from inside. As Lena stepped into the room, she was taken aback by how luxurious it was: sleek furniture, a large window offering a view of the city, and the faint smell of expensive cologne lingering in the air. Jacob was sitting at a large desk, dressed in a crisp suit. His usual angry demeanor seemed to have softened. "Lena, thank you for coming," he said, standing up to greet her. His tone was sincere, and for the first time, Lena noticed how vulnerable he seemed. "I wanted to personally thank you for everything you've done for me." Lena blinked, surprised. "I didn't do anything special," she said, her voice soft. "I was just doing my job." Jacob smiled slightly. "It's more than that. You treated me like a person, not some entitled rich kid. You saw through all the walls I built around myself." Lena felt a wave of warmth wash over her. She hadn't expected this kind of gratitude. "I'm glad I could help," she said, her heart swelling. Jacob paused, looking thoughtful for a moment before he spoke again. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said to me, about how I can still change, how I'm not stuck in this anger, and it made me realize something." He stood up and walked over to a small table in the corner, picking up a folder and bringing it to her. "I want to make things right, not just for me, but for others too." Lena looked down at the folder in her hands, confused. "What do you mean?" Jacob took a deep breath. "I want to fund a new rehabilitation program here at the hospital. One that focuses on people who have been through traumatic experiences, people who have no voice, who are lost. And I want you to lead it." Lena's eyes widened. This was a huge opportunity, one that she never could have imagined. "Me? Let it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," Jacob said firmly. "You have the heart, the compassion, the drive. I've seen it. And I believe you're the right person to make this program something that can change lives." Lena felt her mind spinning. This wasn't just a job offer. It was a chance to make a real difference, to do something meaningful with her life. But there was a part of her that still hesitated. She wasn't sure if she was ready for such a big responsibility. "But I'm just a nurse. I don't have the experience to run a program like this," she said, unsure. Jacob looked at her with kind eyes. "You're more than just a nurse, Lena. You're someone who cares, who understands what it's like to struggle, to fight for something better. That's what matters most." Lena swallowed hard, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. This was everything she had ever dreamed of, leading a program that could change lives. But could she really do it? "Take some time to think about it," Jacob said, sensing her hesitation. "But know that I'm offering this to you. Because I believe in you. I believe in your ability to help people, just like you helped me." Lena nodded slowly, still processing everything he had said. She didn't know what the future held, but one thing was certain: this opportunity was life-changing. As she left Jacob's office, her heart felt lighter than it had in months. She wasn't sure what came next, but she knew that whatever it was, it would be a chance to do something meaningful. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, Lena felt like she was on the right path. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Lena worked closely with Jacob to develop the new rehabilitation program. They met with hospital administrators, worked on securing funding, and created a vision for what the program could look like. As the days passed, Lena grew more confident in her abilities. She realized that she had the skills and passion to lead this project, and with Jacob's support, she could make it a reality. As the program started to take shape, Lena saw firsthand how it was already beginning to change lives. Patients who had once been written off, who had been stuck in their pain and their anger, were starting to open up. They were finding hope again, just like Lena had. And through it all, Jacob remained by her side, offering guidance, support, and encouragement. Over time, their relationship grew deeper, built on mutual respect and understanding. Lena knew that she was no longer just a nurse. She was a leader, a person who could make a difference in the world. And as she looked around at the patients who were beginning to heal, she realized something profound. Sometimes, the greatest healing doesn't come from medicine, but from kindness, from a simple act of seeing someone for who they really are. Lena had learned that lesson from Jacob, the man who had once seemed so far out of reach, but who, in the end, had helped her discover her own strength. As the weeks passed, Lena's new role at the rehabilitation center began to feel more like a calling than a job. Jacob's faith in her, and the overwhelming responsibility that came with running the new program, still lingered in the back of her mind. She knew the stakes were high, but something deep inside her drove her forward. Every morning, she would wake up feeling both excited and nervous. This wasn't just a program to her anymore. It was a mission. She could see the change in the patients as they started to open up and engage with the therapy. It wasn't always easy, and there were days when they struggled to find hope, but Lena could feel the shift. These people weren't just patients. They were people with stories, people who deserved a chance to heal. One day, as Lena was wrapping up her shift, Jacob called her. "Lena, I need you to meet me at the gala tonight. There's something I want to discuss with you." The gala was an annual event for the hospital, where donors and supporters gathered to celebrate the hospital's achievements. Lena hadn't expected Jacob to bring up anything so soon. She had been focused on the program, not on the next step. But she knew Jacob, when he asked her to be at something, it was never just for show. That evening, Lena stepped into the grand ballroom of the hotel, the glimmering chandeliers overhead casting a warm glow over the sea of guests in their elegant attire. As she made her way through the crowd, she felt out of place in her simple black dress, but she quickly reminded herself of the importance of the work she had been doing. She was no longer just a nurse. She was leading something that could change lives. Jacob spotted her from across the room, dressed in his usual sharp suit, his presence commanding attention. He flashed her a reassuring smile as he made his way toward her. "You look great," he said, his voice warm and inviting. Lena couldn't help but smile back. "Thanks, Jacob. You look like you own the place." Jacob chuckled, his eyes sparkling with a touch of humor. "I might just," he replied. They exchanged pleasantries for a moment, but Lena couldn't shake the feeling that Jacob had something important to say. As they stood near the edge of the room, he leaned in slightly, his voice lowering. "Lena, I've been thinking about how much this program means to you and the impact it's having on people. And I've come to a decision." Lena's curiosity piqued, and she glanced at him, her brow furrowed. "What kind of decision?" "I'm going to expand the program," Jacob said, his eyes filled with determination. "But I'm not doing it alone. I want you to help me make this bigger than just this hospital. I want it to reach more people, to help those who need it most. I want it to be a national initiative, and I'm offering you the chance to lead it." Lena's heart skipped a beat. "Wait, what? A national initiative?" Jacob nodded. "Yes, this program has been incredible, and I know it can do more. With your vision and leadership, we can make it grow beyond anything we've imagined. I'm putting my full support behind it, financially, of course, and I want you to be the face of it." Lena was speechless. She had dreamed of something like this, but she had never imagined it would come so soon. She had just started to feel like she was making a real difference, and now, Jacob was offering her the opportunity to make an even bigger impact. But there was still a part of her that was unsure. "I'm not sure if I'm ready for something that big," she admitted quietly. "This feels like a lot to take on." Jacob reached out and gently placed a hand on her arm, his touch comforting. "I know it's a lot, but I believe in you, Lena. You've shown me, and everyone around you, what kind of leader you can be. You're ready for this, whether you believe it or not. I'm not asking you to do this alone. I'll be right there with you every step of the way." Lena looked at Jacob, seeing the genuine trust in his eyes. She had never been one to back down from a challenge. But this was different. This was bigger than she had ever dreamed. As the night went on, Lena couldn't stop thinking about Jacob's offer. It wasn't just about running a program anymore. It was about changing the way people thought about recovery, about healing. It was about offering hope to those who felt forgotten, just like she had once felt. She knew deep down that this was an opportunity she couldn't pass up. The next few days were a whirlwind as Lena worked closely with Jacob to put the plan into motion. The national initiative began to take shape, and with every meeting, every phone call, and every idea, Lena's excitement grew. She was finally stepping into the role she had always wanted. But with the excitement also came a deep sense of responsibility. She was no longer just caring for patients on a daily basis. She was leading a movement. As the program began to expand, Lena could see the impact it was having. More and more people were reaching out, eager to be part of something that promised real change. The response was overwhelming, and soon, the program was reaching hospitals across the country. Lena felt a sense of pride in what they had built, but it wasn't just about the numbers. It was about the faces of the people whose lives were being changed. It was about the patients who had been given a second chance, the ones who had been overlooked for so long. And now, they had a place where they were seen, heard, and valued. And through it all, Lena never forgot the man who had given her the chance to lead. Jacob's belief in her had made all the difference. He had given her more than just a job. He had given her a purpose. As she stood in front of a crowd at one of the program's events, speaking about the incredible journey they had taken together, Lena knew this was only the beginning. The road ahead was long, but it was one she was ready to walk with the people who had become her family. Jacob was right. Sometimes, the greatest healing doesn't come from medicine, but from kindness, from seeing others for who they truly are. Lena had learned that lesson in the most unexpected way, and she was determined to make sure that lesson reached as many people as possible. As the National Rehabilitation Program began to take off, Lena found herself busier than ever. The momentum was undeniable, and with each passing day, the scope of the initiative expanded. The more people Lena helped, the more she realized how much work still lay ahead. But it wasn't just the patients who were transforming. Lena herself was changing too. She had become someone she never thought she could be, a leader, a motivator, someone who could inspire others. It wasn't easy, but she was determined to see it through. Jacob, of course, was right by her side every step of the way. His unwavering support gave her the strength to keep going, even on the toughest days. There were moments when Lena felt overwhelmed, moments when doubt crept in. But Jacob's belief in her was a constant source of reassurance. One afternoon, after a particularly long meeting about the program's future, Lena found herself walking through the hospital's courtyard, trying to clear her head. The warm sunlight and the sounds of nature helped calm her nerves, but her thoughts were still racing. She had always been the kind of person who put others first, but now, with the national program gaining attention, she was starting to realize just how much of herself she had given to the cause. As she sat down on a bench, Lena took a deep breath and closed her eyes. She didn't expect to hear Jacob's voice until he was standing right next to her. "You okay?" he asked, his tone gentle. Lena smiled and looked up at him. "Yeah, just a lot on my mind." Jacob sat down beside her, his presence comforting. "You're doing an amazing job, Lena. You know that, right?" Lena's eyes welled up a little. "Sometimes it's hard to remember that," she admitted, her voice soft. "There's always more to do, more people to help, and I feel like I'm just one person. I wonder if I'm doing enough." Jacob placed a hand on her shoulder, his voice steady and reassuring. "Lena, you are enough. You've already changed so many lives. And the fact that you care so deeply about these people, that's what makes you the perfect person to lead this program. You're not doing this alone. We're all in this together." Lena nodded, feeling the weight of his words settle in her chest. She knew he was right, but the pressure was still there. With everything growing so quickly, it was hard not to feel like she was constantly chasing something just out of reach. But Jacob's words reminded her of why she started this journey in the first place. Not for recognition, not for success, but to help people. And that's what mattered most. As the program expanded further, Lena was introduced to a new challenge, overseeing the training of new staff members who would help carry the initiative forward. It was exciting to know that the program was reaching new places, but it also meant more responsibility for her. She had to make sure the program's core values, compassion, understanding, and personal growth, were carried into every new location. With Jacob's help, Lena handpicked a team of individuals who shared her vision and passion for the cause. Together, they worked tirelessly to implement the program's guidelines and ensure that every patient received the same level of care and attention. As they traveled to new cities, meeting with local hospitals and clinics, Lena's confidence continued to grow. The more she saw the positive changes in people's lives, the more she realized just how far they had come. The patients who once felt isolated and forgotten were now thriving, opening up in ways they never had before. Lena was able to witness firsthand the power of kindness and understanding in healing. But even with all the progress, Lena knew there was still work to be done. She felt a deep sense of purpose in every decision she made, knowing that she was helping to create a future where people could heal, physically, emotionally, and mentally. As the months passed, Lena and Jacob's bond grew stronger. They had been through so much together, and their partnership had turned into something more. It wasn't just about the program anymore. It was about them, supporting each other through the challenges and celebrating the victories. One evening, as the sun set behind the horizon, Lena and Jacob stood together at one of the program's new locations, overlooking a beautiful cityscape. "We've come a long way," Lena said, her voice filled with pride. Jacob smiled, his eyes soft. "We sure have. But this is just the beginning." Lena felt a warmth in her chest as she realized how true that statement was. There was still so much more they could do, so many more lives they could touch. And with Jacob by her side, she felt ready for whatever came next. The next morning, as Lena stood in front of a new group of staff members at the latest program site, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. She wasn't just leading a rehabilitation program anymore. She was leading a movement, one that could change the world for the better. And it was just the beginning. As Lena continued to lead the National Rehabilitation Program, she felt a deeper sense of connection with the patients and the staff. Every day was an opportunity to make a real difference, and the results were starting to speak for themselves. The program was growing faster than anyone had expected, reaching new cities, and helping more and more people. It was a humbling experience to watch the program evolve, and Lena was proud to be at the helm. But there were still moments when she felt the weight of it all. Running such a large-scale initiative wasn't easy, and Lena knew there would always be obstacles along the way. One evening, as she sat in her office, reviewing the latest progress reports, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Jacob. "Lena, I need to talk to you. Can you meet me at the gala next week? It's important." Lena paused for a moment, her heart racing. The gala was one of the largest events of the year, a gathering of the hospital's top donors, board members, and staff. Lena hadn't expected Jacob to ask her to attend something so high-profile. She quickly typed back, "Of course, I'll be there." The night of the gala arrived, and as Lena walked into the grand ballroom, she couldn't help but feel a mixture of excitement and anxiety. The room was filled with well-dressed individuals, their conversations echoing in the air as they mingled. Lena spotted Jacob across the room, talking to a group of board members. He looked every bit the part of a successful businessman, exuding confidence and charm. As she made her way toward him, she couldn't help but notice how much he had changed since they first met. Jacob had always been driven, but now he seemed more focused, more determined. When he saw her, he excused himself from the group and walked over to her with a warm smile. "Lena, I'm so glad you could make it," he said, his voice genuine. Lena smiled back, feeling a sense of pride. "I wouldn't miss it. What's this all about?" Jacob glanced around the room before leaning in slightly. "I've been thinking a lot about the future of the program and where we go from here," he said. "And I've come to a decision. I want to take this to the next level. I want to expand the program internationally." Lena's heart skipped a beat. "Internationally? Jacob, that's huge. Are you sure we're ready for something like that?" Jacob nodded, his expression serious. "We're ready. You're ready. We've seen how much this program has changed people's lives here, and I know it can do the same for people around the world. I'm committing the resources to make it happen, and I want you to lead the charge." Lena couldn't believe what she was hearing. The idea of taking the program internationally was both exciting and terrifying. It was a massive undertaking, one that would require even more dedication and hard work than they had already put in. But the possibility of reaching more people, of helping those who had been left behind, filled her with a sense of purpose. I don't know what to say, Lena admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. This is a big step, but I'm in. If you believe in me, I'll do everything I can to make this happen. Jacob placed a hand on her shoulder, his grip firm and reassuring. I believe in you, Lena. I always have. And I know you'll make this program everything it was meant to be. As they stood there, surrounded by the glitz and glamour of the gala, Lena couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude. She had come so far from the woman who had first met Jacob, unsure, overwhelmed, and unsure of her own potential. Now, she was ready to take on the world, to help more people than she could have ever imagined. The journey ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, Lena felt confident in her ability to lead. The next few months were a whirlwind of planning, meetings, and logistics. Lena worked tirelessly with Jacob and the rest of the team to develop the blueprint for expanding the program internationally. They researched different countries, identified potential partnerships, and started to build the infrastructure needed to make the program a global success. There were moments of doubt along the way, moments when the challenges seemed insurmountable, when the pressure felt too much to bear. But Lena never gave up. She remembered why she started this journey in the first place, to help people, to make a real difference in their lives. As the first international site for the program opened in Europe, Lena was there to witness the beginning of a new chapter. The room was filled with people, patients, doctors, and staff, all eager to be part of something bigger than themselves. It was the culmination of everything she had worked for. Jacob stood by her side as they watched the program take its first steps on foreign soil. You did it, he said quietly, his voice filled with pride. Lena smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment that she couldn't put into words. We did it, she corrected him, her eyes shining. Together, they had built something incredible, something that was changing lives not just in one country, but across the globe. And as they stood there, watching the program take root in a new part of the world, Lena knew that this was only the beginning. As Lena watched the program continue to expand internationally, she couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and exhaustion. The last few months had been a whirlwind of progress, new partnerships, new locations, and new patients, but it had also come with its fair share of challenges. The pressure was constant, and at times, it felt like there was no end in sight. But despite the exhaustion, Lena was more determined than ever to make the program a success. One evening, after a particularly long day of meetings and site visits, Lena sat in her office, going over the latest updates. Her phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. It was a message from Jacob. Lena, I need to talk to you. Meet me at the hospital tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp. Lena raised an eyebrow at the message, curious but also slightly apprehensive. What could Jacob possibly want to discuss now? She had been so focused on the international expansion that she hadn't had much time to talk with him lately. The next morning, Lena walked into the hospital, her mind racing with possibilities. She met Jacob in his office, where he was already waiting for her. He looked serious, more so than usual, and Lena felt a pang of concern. What's going on, Jacob? She asked, her voice laced with curiosity and worry. Jacob leaned back in his chair, his eyes fixed on her. I've been thinking a lot about the future of the program, he said slowly. We've accomplished so much, but there's something we need to address. Lena nodded, unsure of what he meant. What do you mean? The funding, Jacob continued. The program's success has caught the attention of some big players in the industry. They want to invest, but there's a catch. Lena frowned. A catch? What kind of catch? Jacob paused, clearly weighing his words carefully. They want to have more control over how the program operates. They want to make changes, adjust the direction of the initiative, focus on more profitable areas. They don't see the bigger picture the way we do. They see it as a business, not a cause. Lena's heart sank. The last thing she wanted was for the program to lose its core values, to become something that was driven by profit rather than people. So, what are we going to do? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jacob looked at her, his eyes filled with a mix of determination and concern. I'm not willing to let that happen, he said firmly. I've been in this industry long enough to know that money and power can sometimes cloud the true purpose of something. This program is about healing, about changing lives. We can't let it become just another business venture. Lena felt a surge of relief wash over her. She had been worried that Jacob might be willing to compromise, but hearing his words gave her hope. "So, what's the plan?" she asked, her voice steady now. "We're going to stand our ground," Jacob said, his expression resolute. "We'll find a way to secure the funding we need without sacrificing the integrity of the program. But it's going to take some work, and it's going to take courage." Lena nodded, feeling a new sense of purpose. "I'm with you, Jacob. Whatever it takes, we're not letting go of what we've built." Over the next few weeks, Lena and Jacob worked tirelessly to navigate the challenges that came with securing the necessary funding while maintaining control over the direction of the program. They had countless meetings with potential investors, some of whom were eager to push their own agendas, but Lena and Jacob stood firm. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when they thought they might not succeed, but their belief in the program and in each other kept them going. They found a group of investors who understood their vision and shared their commitment to helping people. With this new support, they were able to secure the funding they needed to continue expanding the program without compromising its values. As the program continued to grow, Lena found herself reflecting on how far she had come. When she had first started, she had been unsure of herself, uncertain about her ability to make a real impact. But now, as she stood at the forefront of a movement that was changing lives, she felt more confident than ever. She knew that they had built something truly special, something that was making a difference in the world, and she was proud to be a part of it. One evening, as Lena walked through the hospital, her thoughts were interrupted by a familiar voice calling her name. She turned around to see Jacob standing by the door of his office, a smile on his face. "Hey," he said, motioning for her to come over. "I just wanted to let you know that the latest site we opened is already seeing amazing results. Patients are recovering faster, they're more engaged in the program, and we're getting so much positive feedback." Lena smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. "That's incredible," she said. "I knew it would work. This program is exactly what people need." Jacob's smile softened. "I couldn't have done it without you, Lena. You're the heart of this whole thing." Lena felt her heart swell at his words. "We've done this together," she said, her voice steady. "I couldn't have asked for a better partner." Jacob nodded, his expression serious but warm. "We're not done yet. There's still so much to be done, so many more people to help. But with you leading this, I know we can achieve anything." Lena smiled, feeling a sense of gratitude and determination wash over her. "Then let's keep going," she said. "We have a world to change." And with that, Lena knew they were ready for whatever came next. As the months passed, the National Rehabilitation Program continued to expand at an incredible pace, and Lena found herself at the forefront of something truly groundbreaking. The feedback from patients, their families, and the medical professionals involved was overwhelmingly positive. People were beginning to see the program as more than just a treatment. It was a lifeline, a chance for recovery and renewal, something they never thought possible. Despite the success, however, Lena was feeling a growing sense of pressure. With each new site opening, with each new partner joining, the stakes seemed to get higher. She had always been someone who thrived under pressure, but the weight of leading a nationwide initiative, now moving toward a global scale, was starting to take its toll. One evening, after a full day of meetings and phone calls, Lena sat at her desk, staring at the glowing screen in front of her. The work had piled up faster than she could manage, and she felt her energy beginning to wane. The phone buzzed, and she glanced down to see a message from Jacob. "Lena, we need to talk. Let's meet tomorrow, noon, at the office. It's important." Lena's heart skipped a beat. What could Jacob possibly want to discuss now? They had just secured another round of funding, and things were moving smoothly. So why did he want to meet? She tried to shake the worry from her mind, but it lingered as she prepared for bed. The next day, Lena arrived at the office early, trying to prepare herself for whatever was coming. Jacob greeted her with his usual warm smile, but there was something different about his demeanor today, something more serious. "Good morning, Lena," he said, gesturing for her to sit down. Lena sat across from him, her hands resting on her lap. "What's going on, Jacob? You sounded urgent in your message." Jacob took a deep breath, his eyes locking onto hers. "I've been thinking a lot about the future of the program, and we're at a crossroads," he began. "We've done so much, but there are some things we need to address if we want to ensure the program continues to grow without losing its soul." Lena frowned, her curiosity piqued. "What kind of things?" she asked, already bracing for something challenging. As we expand, we're starting to attract attention from bigger investors, companies that want to get involved in the program. And while that's good for securing more resources, I'm worried that their priorities might not align with ours, Jacob explained. These investors see the program as a business opportunity, a chance to profit. We, on the other hand, are focused on helping people, ensuring the program remains centered on compassion, healing, and support. Lena's stomach tightened. Are you saying they want to change things? Jacob nodded. They want more control. They're pushing for a more corporate model, and that could mean compromising our values. They're not interested in the personal connections, the emotional healing. We could lose sight of what makes this program special. Lena took a deep breath, her mind racing. This wasn't just about securing funding anymore. This was about the very heart of the program, the soul that she and Jacob had worked so hard to build. What are we going to do? She asked, her voice steady despite the rising anxiety inside her. Jacob leaned forward, his eyes intense. We're going to protect the program. We're going to keep it true to what it was meant to be. I'm not willing to let anyone turn it into a business. But I need your help, Lena. Lena nodded, her resolve hardening. I'm with you, Jacob. We can't let the investors take control of something that's meant to heal people, not just make money. Jacob smiled, a look of relief washing over him. I knew you'd say that. But we need to be strategic. We have to find a way to secure the funding we need without sacrificing our principles. This won't be easy, but if anyone can make it happen, it's us. Over the next few weeks, Lena and Jacob worked tirelessly to negotiate with the investors. They were clear about their boundaries. No compromising on the program's mission, no sacrificing the personal, compassionate care that made it so effective. The talks were intense, and there were moments when it seemed like the investors might back out. But Lena and Jacob stood firm, refusing to allow the program to be diluted into a mere business venture. Finally, after several long meetings, they reached a compromise. The investors agreed to fund the program without interfering in its core values. It wasn't perfect, but it was a victory. As Lena sat in the office after the deal was finalized, she felt a sense of relief wash over her. The future of the program was secure, and they had managed to protect its integrity. Jacob walked in, holding 2 cups of coffee. We did it, he said, his eyes sparkling with pride. Lena smiled, feeling the weight of the last few weeks lift from her shoulders. Yeah, we did. Jacob handed her a cup of coffee and sat down beside her. You know, I've been thinking, he said, his voice quieter now. We've been through a lot together, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate everything you've done. You've changed my life, and the lives of so many others. I couldn't have asked for a better partner. Lena felt a lump form in her throat. She had never expected her work to lead her here, to this partnership, to this bond with Jacob. Thank you, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I couldn't have done it without you. They sat together, in silence for a moment, the weight of their journey settling between them. They had come a long way, but there was still so much more to do. With their partnership stronger than ever, Lena knew that no matter what came next, they would face it together. The journey wasn't over, but they had built something that could stand the test of time, something that would continue to heal and change lives for years to come. As the program continued to grow and evolve, Lena found herself reflecting on the journey she had taken. It had been a long road, filled with challenges and triumphs, but she had never once wavered in her commitment to the mission. The National Rehabilitation Program had become more than just a job. It had become her life's work, a cause that had touched not only her heart, but the hearts of countless others. The international expansion was well underway, and Lena was beginning to see the impact of their efforts in ways she never thought possible. Patients from different countries were now benefiting from the program, and as she read the success stories coming in from various locations, a deep sense of pride filled her chest. The work was making a difference. It was changing lives, and that was all that mattered. One afternoon, as she sat in her office reviewing reports, Lena's phone buzzed. It was a message from Jacob. Lena, I need you to meet me at the office. We have something important to discuss. Lena's curiosity piqued. She quickly typed back. Of course, I'll be there. When she arrived at Jacob's office, he was already waiting for her. He looked serious, more serious than usual, and Lena's heart skipped a beat. She had learned to trust her instincts, and something in Jacob's expression told her this conversation would be different. Lena, Jacob began, standing up as she entered. "I've been talking to some of our international partners, and there's something we need to consider." Lena frowned, wondering what this was about. "What do you mean? Everything's going well, right?" Jacob nodded, but his eyes were filled with concern. "Yes, everything is going well, but there's an opportunity on the table that could change things. A large corporation has expressed interest in partnering with us to take the program to an even bigger scale, global. The potential for growth is huge, but it would come with some significant compromises." Lena's heart sank. She had seen this before, the allure of money and power, the temptation to compromise values for the sake of expansion. "Compromises?" she asked, her voice steady but laced with worry. "What kind of compromises?" Jacob hesitated for a moment before responding. "They want to take more control over how we operate. They're pushing for a more commercialized approach, which could dilute the very essence of what we've built. It's a business deal, not a humanitarian one." Lena took a deep breath. She had worked too hard for too long to let the program become something that it wasn't. "What are we going to do?" she asked, her mind racing. "I'm not willing to sacrifice our core values," Jacob said firmly. "We've already made it clear that this program is about healing, about helping people, not about profits. But this is a big decision, and we have to weigh the options carefully." Lena looked out the window, her thoughts swirling. She thought about all the lives they had touched, all the progress they had made, and she knew that no matter what, they couldn't let it slip away. "We can't let the program lose its soul," Lena said finally, her voice resolute. "It's not just a business, it's a movement. It's about changing lives, not making money. If we lose that, then we've lost everything." Jacob smiled, a look of respect in his eyes. "I knew you'd say that. And I agree. We've come too far to let it all go for the sake of corporate interests. We'll find another way, one that keeps the program's heart intact." The two of them spent the next few hours brainstorming, discussing alternatives, and weighing the potential risks and rewards. It wasn't an easy decision, and there were moments when doubt crept in. But Lena knew they had to stay true to their mission. After much deliberation, they decided to turn down the corporation's offer. Instead, they would seek out partners who shared their values and were willing to invest in the program without compromising its integrity. It wasn't an easy path, but it was the right one. As Lena and Jacob worked together to secure new, like-minded investors, Lena felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was the kind of work she had always dreamed of, a work that was about more than just success or recognition, but about making a real difference. Weeks later, as the program continued to grow, Lena received a letter from one of the first patients they had helped in the program's early days. The letter was simple but heartfelt. "Thank you for giving me a second chance. I don't know where I would be without this program." Lena felt a lump form in her throat as she read the words. This was why they had fought so hard, why they had made the decisions they had made. It was for moments like this, when they knew they were truly making an impact. She looked up from the letter and smiled at Jacob, who had been standing in the doorway watching her. "We did it," she said softly. "We're doing it." Jacob nodded, a proud smile on his face. "We are, Lena, and we're not stopping anytime soon." As the program continued to flourish, Lena knew that the road ahead would always have its challenges, but she also knew that she was ready for them. She had the strength, the vision, and the support of those around her. Together, they were unstoppable. The program would continue to heal, to help, and to change lives, one patient at a time. As the months passed, Lena's vision for the National Rehabilitation Program continued to grow stronger. The initial challenges had tested her, but each hurdle had only made her more determined to see the program succeed. With the commitment of like-minded partners, Lena knew the program was on the right track. No longer just a dream, but a tangible movement. The impact was clear. Patients who had once felt like they were at the end of their road were finding hope again, and their stories of recovery filled Lena with a sense of purpose like she had never known. She had worked tirelessly to ensure that the program's core values, compassion, care, and healing, remained the foundation of everything they did, and now, with each new success, those values were being recognized and celebrated. One afternoon, as Lena was reviewing reports in her office, a familiar voice interrupted her thoughts. "Lena, I think it's time we take a step back and reflect on everything we've accomplished," Jacob said, leaning in the doorway. Lena smiled, grateful for the reminder. "You're right," she said, putting her papers aside. It's easy to get caught up in the next challenge, but we've made some incredible strides. Jacob nodded. We have, but we also need to remember why we started this in the first place. It wasn't just about the program growing. It was about the people it was meant to help. And that's still our focus. Lena's heart swelled as she looked at him. The bond they had formed over the years, the trust they had built in each other, had become the backbone of everything they had achieved. I couldn't have done it without you, Jacob. You've been there every step of the way. Jacob smiled, the warmth in his eyes reflecting the deep respect they shared. And you've been the heart of this. You've made this vision a reality. Together, we've built something extraordinary. As they stood in the office, looking out at the city skyline, Lena felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time. It wasn't just about the success of the program. It was about the lives they had touched and the community they had built. Every email, every letter, every call from a patient or family member reaffirmed that they had done the right thing. But there was still more to be done. Lena knew that. The world was a big place, and there were still so many people who needed help, so many who had yet to experience the healing and hope that the program provided. Where do we go from here? Lena asked, turning back to Jacob. We keep moving forward, Jacob replied, his voice steady and confident. We build on what we've created and take it even further. The program has become something greater than we ever imagined, and we're going to keep expanding, helping more people, and changing more lives. Lena nodded, her eyes filled with determination. She had always believed in the power of kindness and compassion, but now, more than ever, she saw how those values could transform the world. And with Jacob by her side, she knew that nothing was impossible. The next step in the program's journey would be challenging, but Lena was ready. She had already seen the power of their work and the impact it had on the lives of those who needed it most. There was no turning back now. They had created something that would last, something that would continue to help people for years to come. As they sat down to plan the next phase of the program's expansion, Lena felt a surge of excitement and hope for the future. They had built something truly remarkable, and there was no limit to what they could achieve together. The road ahead would be filled with new challenges, new opportunities, and new faces to help. But Lena knew one thing for sure. They would face it all with the same heart, dedication, and vision that had brought them this far. The journey wasn't over, it was only just beginning. And as she looked out the window, watching the city pulse with life, Lena couldn't help but smile. The future was bright, and they were just getting started.